So we saw how we can trigger macros by using worksheet events. Well, another very similar type of event are workbook events. And these events are basically the same thing, but one triggers macros for actions that get taken place on a worksheet, and the other triggers macros for actions that get taken place for the workbook. And to access these workbook events, we need to double-click this workbook inside the Microsoft Excel objects. So now we are inside this workbook's code module. And the first thing that we have to do is select this dropdown and select Workbook. And the first sub that it automatically inserts is the Workbook Open event. So anytime a user opens this workbook, it will execute the lines of code within this sub. To see all the other events that can trigger macros for this workbook, we can select this second dropdown. And you can tell there are a lot more events for the workbook than the worksheet. So we have already discussed the open event, but there's other events such as when a new sheet is activated, when a user inserts a new chart, or after saving the workbook, or before closing a workbook. So there are many different options that we can choose from. But for this example, let's say that we want a message box to appear when we add a new sheet to this workbook. So we need to select New Sheet, and inside this sub, we need to type in message box, and we can just say, you have created a new worksheet. And that's it. So if we come back over to our Excel workbook, and we insert a new sheet by clicking this plus icon, a new sheet gets created, and our message box pops up saying, you have created a new worksheet. So those are workbook events. And they're very similar to worksheet events, but one just deals with events that happen on a worksheet, and the other deals with events that happen to the workbook. So with these types of events, we are able to get really creative and produce very dynamic spreadsheets.